Well, on today's episode of the Home Service Toolbox, we are going to be talking to Brian Gilbert as well as Steven Schneider of Integrity Roofing. And Brian founded the company with the intention of bringing a level of transparency and integrity to what they would consider an overwhelming process, the home remodeling and the roofing industry. And his company specializes in assisting homeowners through the insurance claims processes and stands as an advocate on their behalf. So we want to stay tuned to the 34th episode of the Home Service Toolbox.
Welcome to the Home Service Toolbox, a podcast dedicated to helping home service providers. Every Wednesday, your hosts, Brian and Olivia, will interview leading experts in both the home service field as well as companies who support the small business owner. Our guests will help you nail down what will and what won't work to grow your business. Whether you're on a job site or taking a break, there's no better time to sharpen your small business skills.
Well, welcome everyone to the 34th episode of the Home Service Toolbox. I am joined again by Olivia, our co-host. How are you today, Olivia?
I'm great, Brian. Can't complain. How are you doing?
I'm good. It's been a couple weeks since we've done this. We took a couple weeks off for our podcast. So, since we're still not in the office, we are still doing the remote thing. So I haven't seen you in a couple weeks, but a lot has been happening, obviously, in the world. And so beyond the COVID stuff, but we're not here to talk about all of that. We're here to talk to Brian and Steven from Integrity Roofing. You guys are the first guest that we've had in North Carolina in like 3 months. So yay, North Carolina. How are you guys doing today?
Doing good.
Good. How about yourself?
Doing well. Isn't this weather crazy that we are having? Like 2 degrees, North Carolina. Now we've got weather. It's been crazy.
And do that for you.
Yeah, it's typical of North Carolina. You get all 4 seasons in 1 week, usually here.
Definitely. Well, speaking of weather, you guys are outside in your environment trying to work with roofs, and we want to just jump in to learn more about your business, but most specifically for our audience, how have you guys found success? What are some of the things that you guys have struggled with? Because we all can learn from one another. So, Brian, it's always interesting to hear how someone got into this field. How did you find yourself on top of a roof and to start a roofing company?
Okay, so I guess first off, I'll kind of correct your intro a little bit.
Please.
So my brother-in-law Jeremy had the idea.
Okay.
He actually had worked for a couple other roofing companies similar to ours before, and he approached me about starting our own company. He had the roofing experience, but no real business experience. And I was kind of the opposite. I have some business experience and, I guess, back of the office experience, but no roofing experience. So, between the two of us, we jumped out on a limb, but we both quit our jobs and we just started knocking on doors and helping people with insurance claims and getting their roofs taken care of. And, it's just grown and blown up from there.
That's really incredible. I mean, talk about a family affair since we're all so involved in the home as it is. I was also, when pre-show, going through y'all's website, and I also noticed that your wife works with you, which I'm sure is just adding a whole new level to the family affair. So I guess my question is, how do you guys, balance that work life and that home life all being so involved with one another?
Well, I will say it can be difficult. There are times where it overflows into home life and vice versa. My wife worked here in the office. Jeremy's wife, which is my sister, she works here in the office. My younger brother is our quality control manager. So we're pretty much all family here. And it does bring a different dynamic. And I definitely believe it takes the right group of people and the right family to be able to make it work. And we're not perfect. We have days where we yell and scream, you know. But but in the end, and at the end of the day, you know, we're all here for each other. We're all here to help each other, and you know, and we're all here to help the customers. So,
whoops, I lost you guys. Where'd you go?
Oh, there.
Oh, there he is.
There you are. Well, one of the things that that is important to talk about is obviously the season that we find ourselves in with COVID, and it's impacted, you know, lots of businesses across the country. You know, obviously it's devastated thing like the restaurant industry.
Oh yeah.
But obviously with a service-based industry, specifically outside, you know, the impact has probably been very, very different. But you talk about how in the previous conversation about the family and working together, how have you used your approach to business to ease the fears of your customers during kind of this season of kind of just fear around being around people?
Absolutely. We have put out different videos. We put out things on our website explaining the different measures that we are taking. Any special request that a homeowner has, we are more than willing to go above and beyond. We are set up to where we can do everything electronically and remotely if necessary. So if there is a high risk situation where there cannot be any personal contact, we can do everything without actually speaking face to face if we have to.
Man, I keep hitting the wrong button. I want to follow up with that. So,
Yeah.
Quick question: did you have those systems and processes in place before COVID, where you could be completely remote and never talk to anyone face to face, or did you have to implement some of these things, you know, since COVID?
We were pretty much 99% of the way there. You know, I believe what we did when COVID came along was just made everyone aware that we could do that. You know, all of our paperwork, all of our contracts are electronic. You know, as far as meeting with adjusters and things like that, the homeowner doesn't have to be outside of the home for that. We can take care of that process for them. And yeah, we basically just try to bring down to where all they have to do is say yes, they want us to take care of it, and then basically once the insurance writes a check, their process is basically just to make sure the money flows like it's supposed to.
Do you find that your customers prefer those limited face-to-face interactions, or do you think they're missing some of the more personal elements that we had pre-COVID?
Well, and honestly, even through COVID, most people have been, you know, for the most part, okay with most of the interaction that we have to do. You know, we can do most everything outside or on the front porch without having to actually walk into the house. Some people don't care. We have dealt with some customers that are high risk that have requested that either we don't come in the house or we wear a mask, things like that. And again, all things that are pretty easy to comply with, just to help make the customer feel more comfortable through the process.
So, Stephen, as the person that kind of over marketing, you know, Brian suggested that you guys were now working on getting the message out of some of the things that you guys have been doing for a while now. What are some of the ways that you've been really trying to inform your audience about the different ways that people can engage with you guys as a business?
I mean, we use every social media platform known to man, but we're gaining a larger following on Facebook. Huh?
Are you on TikTok?
We are on TikTok. We haven't, you know, we haven't really like done any funny videos or anything like that yet. That's coming. Mainly, we was just trying to get some of our videos and stuff like that, our drone footage out there, so people can see what we do, the quality of work we do, the pride we take in everything that we do. But you know, we utilize Facebook a lot. You know, we seem to have a larger base there, which has actually helped us with some of the other platforms, because, you know, everybody's on Facebook, and of course they want to fact check you, so they go to Google, and then you're connected to Instagram, and We utilize other platforms like House, and then your older entities like the Better Business Bureau and for reviews and stuff like that. But I basically try to put together a lot of just content and information, and with consistency, put it out there so people know, like, we're not just the run of the mill roofing company and we take your money and we go. You know what I mean? We take pride in our name and everything that we do, and we do our very best to make sure that every homeowner, property owner, knows that they are our top priority in everything that we do. And as far as the measures with COVID-19 is concerned, I mean, we throw it out there once in a while because it's usually, if you go to our website, it's linked there. We have Google Business set up to where it shows that we're in compliance with CDC standards and things of that nature.
That's great. I mean, being able to put that out there and keep people aware. I mean, even though we're slowly shifting back to the new normal, or as normal as it can be, I mean, everyone's still taking precautions. So I think it's great that you guys are still keeping your customers in the loop with everything you're doing. And that's definitely going to help reassure their fears as we start to get things calm again. So Integrity Roofing, I love that name, by the way, and I think it's such a great testament to what the home service industry should be. Can you, Brian, maybe shed some light as to why you all picked that name?
Well, and I'll be honest, that was one of the first questions. Jeremy came up with the name. That was one of the first questions I asked. Jokingly, he said, because a lot of people in our industry don't have any integrity. He said, and that's a problem. And that's one thing working for other roofing companies. And I myself have been a contractor for various companies, and the construction industry gets a bad name, and unfortunately, rightfully so, with a lot of contractors. There are a lot of fly-by-night companies that come through, do a halfway decent job, and then you can never get a hold of them again if you have a problem. And so we wanted to make sure that we brought a level of customer service and a level of transparency to the industry that you don't see very much, and our customers appreciate that. I remember one of the first times I went out and looked at a customer's house, and I got down and I said, well, honestly, your roof's fine. I mean, you really don't need to do anything. They're like, are you serious? I said, yeah. They're like, well, how much do I owe you? I was like, well, our inspections are free, so you don't owe me anything. Maybe call us in another 5 years. We'll take a look at it. And they were amazed that I wasn't trying to sell them a roof that they didn't need. So.
Well, that's incredible. I think that just speaks to how you guys run your business and, right now. So, from a marketing standpoint, either of you guys can kind of answer this, but, a lot of our, service-based companies, they're on the roof, they're, below the sink doing the plumbing. They're doing so much work. And one of the things I noticed about Integrity is how much content you guys are putting out and how much, video and photography you guys are putting out. Obviously, it's making a difference. But what I find, even with our new clients and the people that are our listeners, at the end of the day, they've worked, 10, 12 hours, and they just don't have time to, snap a picture and do it well and this and that, and get it on social media and make sure they post it, et cetera, et cetera. Obviously, Stephen, you have the luxury of a majority of your job being dedicated to this. But for those that are just like trying to get a Facebook post out, what are some ways that you can encourage people to really take heart to something that is actually make a big difference for your business?
Well, and I've told these guys from the beginning, when they first started, and I build websites. That's what I do on the side. And I kind of told them from the beginning, when you're utilizing Facebook, if you're not consistent, and if you're not posting something at least once a week, you're out of sight, you're out of mind, right? People don't think about you. These larger brands, they don't have to worry about that because they've been around for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. But you take an incredible company that's got the word of mouth reputation, but they're not on social media, or they're on there, but they're, they don't post a lot, then people tend to forget about them. Not because they're not valuable or they don't bring, quality to their respective fields, but I mean, for me, what I would tell anybody is just stay consistent, whether that be once a week, once a month. If you're not putting something out there, then people are not going to know who you are unless you've been around for, 20, 30 years. And that's what I find to be the big takeaway is, and we have a system here. We have a system. We have a quality control guy who goes out. He takes the before pictures, the after pictures. He sends them to me. I go in and make sure that they're quality photos, and then I form them for whatever platform they're going on from there. And it just seems to be a one wheel greases the other, and it's been pretty streamlined really from the beginning, but it took a little while to get there. And I would just recommend to anybody that's trying to build a base on social media, it's all about consistency, whether it's once a week, twice a week, whatever that looks like for you, whatever you can find the time for, make it happen. It's important. People, they can identify with pictures and stuff of that nature. So, that's what I would say.
Well, then I would be able to speak to when we first started, because I know when we first started, I was trying to handle all of that along with everything else. I believe I had about 5 job titles at one time. So if you're trying to do every aspect of what needs to be done, it's tough. And I believe that's where a lot of people end up failing is they don't know how to properly delegate certain things to people. I still struggle with that. I mean, there's certain things that I'm like, I do it better, but sometimes it doesn't matter that I could do something if I don't have time to do it. It's kind of irrelevant. So I would definitely say, delegating certain tasks to people, not trying to take on the world and fit 80 hours into a day, because that doesn't work, and you'll burn yourself out real fast.
Definitely making a balance and understanding how delegation works is critical to any business, and I think that goes to your company name, being a company of integrity. It's getting the right people. So as a business owner, hiring has been a challenge because through the years it takes time to get the right people, and sometimes you bring the wrong people on. So being that you've talked about, I mean, even through this podcast, you've got someone dedicated to taking pictures, and you got someone dedicated to marketing, you got people dedicated to different things. Obviously you've hired people. How did you get good people? Because getting good people is probably one of the biggest challenges of the service industry.
Absolutely. And to get to where we're at, we've gone through a lot of bad people. I will be honest. I mean, honestly, that's unfortunately that happens. And I mean and I know with us in particular, so our quality control manager, that's something that wasn't even a position whenever we first started. Like that didn't even exist. Like we had to create that position, and that was just based on the workload that we had and the needs that our company had. Me and Jeremy were basically trying to cover what that position is now, and we weren't doing a very good job because we were just getting pulled in too many directions. So my youngest brother Michael approached us. He's gone to college. He's a chef. He's cooked his whole life, and he's gotten burnt out. And he came in and talked to us. Said, is there anything? Is there any position that y'all are looking for somebody? And, we talked to him about sales. We talked to him about a couple different things. And that's when we were right in the spot where we were super busy. We were trying to do 3 or 4 houses a day, which is insanity. But we really looked at what we needed. We had a gentleman before him try and do that position, and he kind of halfway did it. But we sat down, we set expectations. And, I believe if you sit down with someone and you have it in writing, you say, this is what we expect, and this is what you're going to get compensated for, and everyone's on the same page, then if expectations aren't met, it's not a surprise to anybody. And we do that with everybody. But yeah, the quality control thing, I think, is definitely for us in particular is very key. There's a lot of companies in our little niche that do not do that. They do not have a dedicated person that goes out, because Michael will go out while they're installing the roof. He will, if they need material, he'll take it out there, and that keeps our crews working instead of having to stop and start. So we're able to keep the process flowing. He goes behind, he gets on the roof, he checks everything. If there's, if they had a low nail or there's a shingle kind of out of place, like he's caught a lot of stuff that probably in the first 6 months or a year, we might not have caught, So he's definitely brought a lot of value, not only to the company, but to our brand as a whole.
I mean, I think being able to delegate is so important, and that sounds like what you've done by having Michael enter this position. But as a business owner, I know sometimes that can be easier said than done. So, what can you tell our viewers in terms of being able to kind of let go and feel confident enough to give someone else the reins and kind of take a step back and sort of not necessarily be as hands-on, but be able to trust, confide in someone that is going to get the job done for you? Because I know that must be difficult at times, especially if it takes long enough to find the right person. Very much so. And I know it is hard to find the right person and to find the right people for certain positions. I feel like in one aspect, we have been blessed in the sense that we have a lot of family that are hard workers, and we know that because we grew up with them and we worked beside them. With Michael in particular, we knew he was a hard worker. It was just a matter of training him based on what he needed to do here. My sister is the office manager. I know she's a hard worker, and it's Jeremy's wife. So it was just a matter of her learning this business. My wife, she is a hard worker, and it's just a matter of, learning what they need to do in the position. It is difficult to find people, and we've interviewed a lot of people that they sell themselves, and then they're not exactly what they are. And I feel like, sometimes it's a gut feeling, and sometimes you go through, talking to 20 people before you find someone that you really feel like could do a job. And even then, that might end up not being the person long-term for it. I know with our sales reps, we have had that issue with some. We've had some that's worked out for a while, and then either, they've decided to move on to bigger and better things, or they've decided just to get out of the industry altogether. And unfortunately, sales staff is going to be a revolving door, I think, about with anywhere. But again, we have implemented a sales manager to kind of help them out whenever they have issues and they have problems, which is actually Stephen's wife. So again, this is a family business. We all have a wide variety of skills that we all bring to the table, and again, I would honestly say that this wouldn't have ever started without Jeremy having the idea and wanting to start this initially. So.
Well, that's great. Definitely a lot of good food for thought for hiring and bringing on the right people. I think the best thing you said is it may take you 20 people, so wait for the right person. So speaking about the audience, you're touching the homeowner just like all of the people in the service industry. The homeowner is unique to people. So what have you guys learned? This is for both of you, Stephen and Brian. What have you guys learned about homeowners and about how you guys can get the messaging right to ensure that you are reaching them for what their needs are?
Yeah. Well, I guess I'll just go ahead and say that every person's different. Mm-hmm. Every homeowner is different. And I think part of that, the initial interaction with them is you just have to kind of feel out what's important to them. What are they looking for? Are they looking at value? Are they looking at price? looking at their property and their home. Is their lawn well manicured? You just have to kind of feel someone out as far as like, where they're at in life, where their values are at, what they hold dear to them, because something that might not matter to me might be the most important thing to somebody else. So that initial, before we ever step foot on someone's property and start tearing a roof off, we try to get to that point to where we know what needs to be done and what needs to be taken care of before our crew ever goes out there. But yeah, every single person is different. You can't judge someone necessarily by just looking at them. You definitely have to talk with them and just kind of see. And I think the good thing about us is that it doesn't matter what type of homeowner it is. They could live in a single wide trailer, or they could live in a $3 million house on the lake, and we treat everybody the same. Because a customer is a customer, and we're here to help them no matter what it is.
I mean, I couldn't agree more. I feel like the biggest thing when it comes to great customer service is the ability to connect and have empathy and just giving them that sense of security and reassurance. You can't put a price on that. It's truly a unique experience that varies from homeowner to homeowner. So I think you hit the nail right on the head with that one. Considering you guys have both been in this industry for some time now, whether it is as an owner or in marketing, for our audience that might be hesitant to start their own business or hesitant to dive headfirst into the world of marketing, what are some tips that you think are important to sort of segue into starting your own business or segueing into marketing your small business if you're unfamiliar or you're not sure where to get started, that really helped you guys get to where you are today?
Well, I mean, as far as my position's concerned, I mean, it's about just not giving up. There's so many different aspects of marketing, and that goes along with any industry. But it takes time. It takes time, and it's not a what is this? It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. You got to be in it for the long haul.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people out there that'll, they make things look super easy, and they want you to build your reputation, by spending $15,000 a month. And really and truly, it boils down to just being consistent, putting out quality content, and taking the time to learn the different platforms and the different languages that go along with those platforms, because they're all different. And they all provide a different, a unique perspective to whatever industry you're in. I mean, for me, that's what it's all about, is just being open-minded, not being so hard on yourself, man, because time takes time. Anybody that's got a business or that's been in business for over 5 years or longer, I mean, they'll all tell you the same thing. Success doesn't happen overnight, and if it does, it's usually very short-lived. So,
I would say, especially, so I've seen people try to go into a business that they know nothing about. So I think in that aspect, you're creating problems before you even get there. I think the fact that this business and this industry was something that Jeremy knew a lot about as far as the industry itself, but as far as the ins and outs of running a business, he had the wherewithal to know that he needed someone who had some experience with that. I have both good and bad experience with it. I mean, I have a business that's failed. I've been involved. My aunt has a thriving staffing business that I've been a part of, and then whenever he came and talked with me, we had about 2 or 3 other guys that were supposed to come along with us, and everybody backed out. And I remember we sat down one day, and he was like, "I don't know. What do you think?" I was like, "We can do this." And I think we both had about a month's worth of bill money in the bank, and we both quit our jobs. And in the beginning, it is hard. It is a lot of long hours. Anyone starting a business, don't think that you're going to work 40 hours. I mean, you're going to work 40 hours Monday and Tuesday. I mean, honestly, I mean, starting out that first 6 months, you know, we were scraping by. We made sure our bills were paid, and we kept money in the business. That's another thing is I've seen business owners that they get a little money and they yank it out and they think they're high rolling, and then something happens. You know, we've always been very big on making sure that money gets put back into the business. You know, making sure everyone is taken care of. You know, but especially starting out, I mean, I would say me and Jeremy were working 80, 90 hours a week at least. I mean, we were going out working 8, 10, 12 hours a day and then coming back and working in the office. So, you know, someone had to do every aspect of the job. And until we got to a point to where, because starting out, we didn't have any money to pay anybody else. So, you know, once we got to a point to where, for instance, you know, we brought my sister on. And I taught her how we had everything set up in the office, and she was able to take some of that on. And then just on down the road, you know, we didn't have all these processes in place to start with. We didn't have all of our people in place to start with. I mean, it has been a growing process. And I think another thing is learn from your mistakes, be okay with criticism. And if you're in business with someone else, know that you're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days. Some days you're going to hate each other. Some days you're going to love each other, you know, and especially whenever it's family, you know, things fluctuate pretty quickly. So, but in the end, you know, at this point, you know, we've been very successful. And I definitely feel that that's because we have been able to take criticism and we have made mistakes and learned from it. And that's the thing with the business, you make the wrong mistake and that could be the last one you make, especially if you're not set up properly. And if you're sucking every dime out that comes in and then you have a little hiccup, I mean, that can be it. So I definitely think that we've set ourselves up to where we have enough of a cushion to where everyone's taken care of, everyone's paid, customers are taken care of. But if a problem arises, whether it's with a customer or whether it's a financial issue, we're able to handle it and take care of it and move forward from it.
Well, you said so many great nuggets. I think that our audience can definitely learn from. But I want to hit on something that you answered in some of the pre-show questions, and you talked about, you know, one of the hardest things about running a business is all the time that you have to put in, and then balancing that with home life. So now that you've gotten past, you know, the beginning stages and, you know, you may still be working long hours, but how do you balance that? Because, you know, I've started the business, I've closed the business, and that business I started and closed, you know, I was working those 120 hours and I never was able to create that balance. And, you know, that balance is going to be, the balance is going to create the sustainability to actually be in business for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. So what are some things that you're doing right now to really create that balance to ensure that you have longevity in this industry?
Well, so I know starting out, I mean, me and my wife sat down and talked before we even started, and you know, and Jeremy sat down with his wife, my sister, and talked, and they knew going in that they weren't going to see a lot of us. You know, there was going to be a lot of long hours, and so they knew going into it kind of what they were getting into by agreeing to go along with this. But then we got to a point to where if you don't ever take any time for yourself at all, and it is just like, you know, 12, 14 hours every day, you know, 6, 7 days a week, you're going to burn yourself out and you're going to get to the point where you don't even want to go to your own business anymore. So whenever you see yourself getting to that point, if you need to take a day, if you need to take an afternoon, we've had times where we've had to do that. You know, I mean, I know Jeremy's looked at me and be like, listen, I just need a day. I'm like, well, okay, well, let's see what we got going on and see what we can move around if we need to. And, you know, whether it's, you know, just kind of staying at home, whether it's, you know, I know for him, he likes to get on his motorcycle and go riding for a little bit, which is always, I'm sure, always nice. And vice versa. I've done the same thing, whenever it's just like so stressed out, and you just need a minute to breathe, because that's going to happen. And anyone that thinks it's not going to happen is fooling themselves. Running a business is stressful. It's stressful. It's time consuming. And if your family is not on board and understands the sacrifices that are going along with it, it's going to make it times harder.
Do you think because it's such a family affair in your business that it's strengthened your relationships with one another in ways that you didn't foresee coming? Because the way you talk about one another, and you can clearly see the respect and the admiration there and the trust. So I guess it just has me wondering for other individuals who might want to bring a family member on board but aren't sure how that's going to all transpire at the end.
Yeah. So again, there has been learning curves and growth even with family. It's not a bed of roses every day. We all love each other. We don't always like each other, depending on the day. But again, I mean, I think I can say this, that our family has always been close enough and deep rooted enough to where we felt like that this wasn't going to be an issue. At the end of the day, whether Integrity Roofing is around or not, we're still family. It is a lot easier said than done sometimes, and again, we've had meetings, we've yelled, we've screamed at each other, it happens. But at the end of the day, we love each other. We'll have a family get together on Sunday, and we're all there. And it's kind of like, man, I've seen you all week. Let me go talk to somebody else. But again, I don't think just any family could do something like this. I definitely think it's a unique experience, and I know Jeremy's brother. Jeremy's actually a triplet, so there's three of them. Which is kind of interesting. Whenever I knew his one brother before I knew Jeremy, so his one brother's one of our sales reps as well. They're both
keep going down and down with your family, man. I mean, every conversation, you're like, I'm adding another family member.
Yeah, and I guess the good thing is that because we have family that is willing to work. Jeremy and his brother Jason both have experience in this industry before we started it. I mean, Jason's been in this industry for 12, 13 years, something like that. So Jason's very knowledgeable in the roofing aspects. So everyone has their own skill set. So it's just kind of all come together. I don't feel that just any family could do this. And again, there's some days that make me question whether we're going to be able to do it, but we do, and at the end of the day, we get through it. We get everything worked out. I know with Michael's working 12, 14 hours a day right now. I mean, summertime is just crazy for us. I mean, and we're getting right into the middle of it right now. So,
Stephen, so going back to thinking about marketing, getting your message out, what would you say? You talked about consistency, but besides consistency, what would you say like top three things for a business to consider in getting their message out today in today's world in 2020?
Post. I mean, really, just sharing, just being authentic. Sharing your work, sharing the quality of work that you do. Being honest with people, transparent as possible. I mean, again, everything you see on TV or on the internet, if it's on the internet, it must be true. Just be transparent and be honest and humble in all that you do and you put out there into the world, especially when it pertains to your business. Man, I just think some of those things speak for themselves. People can tell if you're authentic or if you're not, and I mean, really, to me, that's kind of what it boils down to. I mean, we share a lot of stuff, man. And it's, again, I hate to keep harping on the word consistency, man, but that's what it boils down to. It really does. I think that's what separates us from a lot of people in our region that do what we do. is that we are consistent. You know, we put ourselves out there every day, and we don't just, you know, we don't like zero in on one target demographic. We don't just go for the people who live on the lake, you know, these
Right.
big $1 million homes. We try to provide services for everybody. And
So besides social, are you guys using any paid services with Google? Or are you utilizing, you know, pay per click? Are you utilizing the new service as it relates to Google Guarantee? Are you doing any of that?
no, we've looked into to utilizing some of those. You know, again, we have a Google My Business page, but we don't utilize the pay per clicks or the Google ads or anything like that. We still believe in the word of mouth reputation, but that word of mouth can be spread digitally through these platforms
Right.
without having to break the bank, so to speak, to get your message out there. And I think that's a great opportunity for a new company starting out as well, as utilize the free services to your advantage because they're out there. That's what they're
Google,
put in place for.
right. You mentioned Google My Business. How are you guys using that tool specifically to grow your business?
Well, you know, you can put posts on there, but you can also share updates, product updates, your before and after photos. I think right now, in our region alone, I think we have what Google deems to be 700% more than any other competitor as far as our photos and visuals go. So I think that those little things like that help to keep us ahead of the game.
How are you with Google reviews? Do you have a good solid footing on Google reviews?
Yeah, we do, and from time to time, you know, from time to time, I mean, you have a random person that you've never even dealt with will
Right.
put a review up that you've never even done business with them. So you know, you just have to take the good with the bad, and we report it. You know, let them know that we don't have any. We haven't done any business with them or anything like that. So,
What type of quantity do you guys have on your Google reviews? Do you know how many?
What is it?
You know how many reviews you guys have approximately?
I want to say, give me 1 second and I'll tell you.
Well, and while he's looking for that, I can also say that whenever we got our own brick and mortar location, that helped out a lot with Google as well.
Right.
Having an actual physical address to associate with it, it puts you on the Google map. Whereas when we first started out, you know, we didn't have that. We didn't have the money for that, you know. So just like any other business, we started out of the home and kind of grew from there. So there's just all kinds of algorithms with all the different social media platforms that once you learn it, you can kind of work that algorithm to a certain degree. But yeah, with Google in particular, having a physical commercial location is a big deal.
Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I mean, so many people don't even realize, you know, they just think they can, you know, work out of their home, and you can.
Yes.
You can be successful with that, but
Absolutely.
having some sort of physical address, even if it's a closet, I mean, having a physical address that Google can call home, I mean, it's critical because, you know, Google understands that you're a real business and it's going to give, you know, thought to that. And I will say we've had businesses that we've helped that have moved addresses, and that they don't do the right stuff about moving addresses. Google gets confused, and you can lose business if you don't move correctly online. So
Yeah, we have we have 86 reviews on Google as it is right now.
right.
We have 62 on the Better Business Bureau. We have 92 through Facebook, 41 on House, and there were some other platforms we were utilizing in the beginning. But then, you know, some of these platforms you got to pay to play. So once they start seeing you're a legitimate company, they want you to pay them to advertise on their platform.
Right.
So their free services no longer become free.
And I mentioned the review count because I knew it was high. I didn't know the exact number, but I mentioned that because, you know, so many businesses don't understand how reviews and Google My Business plays into getting your website visible on Google. And the fact that you guys are not doing any paid per click, it is pretty incredible for a local business, because they don't understand how important the reviews are and your physical location and posting regularly with your website and Google My Business. So I think, this is a true testament to you can be successful without having to pay to play, but you've got to be consistent, as you said. So
Yeah.
Well, and I know the review process and the referral process is built into our sales pitch, so we make sure whenever we have a salesperson, like we tell them, push the reviews, get the referrals. If you can get a referral, that's someone that already knows you're coming to the house. You're not having to blindly knock on somebody's door, or it's not, some kind of lead that we're having to pay for. Referrals are gold. And we hold those very, very near and dear, because if you do work for someone and they feel like you did a good enough job to send you to someone else, then we feel like that we're doing our job at that point. So, but making sure that we mention, because what I've noticed is, and even in my own life, that if someone does a great job, I don't always think about a review. If they do a horrible job, that's the first thing I think about, going and put a bad review, so. And I think that's just human nature, So we do try to push, to make sure that's part of the conversation. We definitely like the feedback. We'll post pictures. Stephen will get pictures of someone's house posted, and all of a sudden they see their house on there, so that kind of helps. It makes them feel a little bit more part of it. I think all that stuff working together. But yeah, since Stephen's been with us, the consistency's been there. The amount of content's been there. And then once we brought on Michael, and he's just feeding photos daily. We're utilizing an app called Company Cam for all of our photos. I think it is more specific to our industry, but I think it's something that could be utilized by a lot of different people. But it keeps all the photos off your phone. It stores it in the cloud. Because I know before we had that, I had like 2,000 pictures of just random roofs on my house or on my phone. And I'm like, my phone's completely clogged up with, I don't even know what these pictures are. So I know with that app, we're able to go in there, put a name and address, put the pictures with it. It keeps everything organized very well. So that's definitely helped out in that aspect. Also, with that app, we're able to, that the office can access pictures as they're being taken on site. So that, they can, we can, whether I'm here or whether Elizabeth's looking for photos for a particular thing, they can take them, they automatically upload. We can say, hey, that's not that good. Can you go take a picture? And it's not that they've taken pictures, email it to us an hour later when they're already gone. We can do things in real time with that. So that's helped as well with them, making sure that we have the photos that we need, whether it's for an insurance claim or whether it's for marketing, either way, because they're important in both aspects.
Well,
Yeah,
go ahead.
Okay, I was going to say, a picture truly is 1,000 words, and I do content for all of our clients, and I have to say, you can say as much as you want, but without forming those connections and being able to create that visual connection and ultimately that emotional connection, because seeing the actual product or seeing the damage or seeing the finished result, it just creates that whole new level of empathy, and it really does go the extra mile. So I completely agree with that.
Well, Brian, I need to give you some criticism, and it's because of your hat. I normally don't interview Carolina fans. I wish. Sorry.
Well, we can't all be perfect, but so.
Yeah, for those that are just listening, Brian is wearing a very light-colored blue North Carolina hat. So. For those that are listening all over United States, Duke and Carolina are great rivals, and obviously Duke is the number one rival on that. I had to throw that in.
You said number one rival.
Yeah. But anyway, college basketball, I don't know when that's going to get back, but
Yeah.
maybe we'll see a Carolina Duke game again this year. Who knows?
Oh yeah. It'd be nice.
Yeah. Well, both of you, thank you so much for joining us. Your honesty, it comes from your company name, just being in people of integrity, and it's come through in just his interview, being able to be honest and be able to show forth that you got to make mistakes in order to have success. And so, if you guys listening and you guys have questions, feel free to reach out to these guys. Because they're doing some amazing things, not just for roofing, but just the service industry. They're being consistent and getting the message out. So look them up on, I found them on Instagram, but look them up on social media and definitely follow them to just learn how you guys can market your own business.
Yeah, I could not applaud you guys more. Pre-show, I was looking you guys up, and the amount of stellar 5-star reviews I combed through I feel like it was 30 to 40 minutes. It was all I saw, and just the amount of impact you all have on your clients. It's just tremendous. So I applaud you and continue to keep up the great work. And we're so thankful that you came on our show today, and we really appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate you having us on the show.
Well, next week, we're going to have Leah Livingston, and she's the business development manager of PaySimple. And PaySimple is an online payment software that allows businesses to receive online payments, sent invoices, and streamline online billing. And so during these last few months of COVID, PaySimple has offered their patrons a variety of services and resources. And, especially in the months of COVID, it's important to be contactless, and PaySimple is a great way to be able to engage people with contactless payments. So she's going to be on our show next Wednesday.
And if you guys like what we put out every week, please subscribe to our channel. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Facebook Live, and all that jazz. And if you like what we put out, please comment and tell us more of what you're looking for. We love to hear y'all's feedback. So thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Break time's over, but thanks for listening to the Home Service Toolbox. Keep your marketing toolbox up to date by subscribing to our podcast. We'll be here every Wednesday hammering out solutions to help your business.